Hi, it's Deanna. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. Today I am working on, I'm partway through what will be the March 2021 kit. And I'm doing my favorite project ever. This has turned into my favorite kit. I loved the pincushion tomato of January and the klimt of February. This is my favorite so far. So like any kit, it's not for everybody. I've got a lot of bright colors. I've got a very particular palette. This kit is going to be called Shiny Things. And the premise of this kit, this is the original drawing for it. The premise of this kit is that there's like a fractal style, Pennsylvania Dutch style bird coming into a little bird's nest with lots of Proddy, Proddy opportunities, some little blue robin's eggs in the nest. Of course, he's not a robin or she, so confusing in and of itself, but artistic liberties, I guess, creative liberties. So this is the design for it, and I've been working it out, and I haven't finished it yet, so things might yet change, but I've made a lot of progress. And the idea is that this bird is coming into the nest, and like all birds, is interested in picking up little shiny things, like most birds, from the ground and little bits and pieces that will be helpful in the making of the nest. And so there will be, I ordered a ton of things like little charms and Roman coins, buttons, little enameled monarch butterflies, very vintagey looking stuff, some little glass charms, things that everybody will get in the kit that you can either put onto your nest, like in the little folds of the nest as if they were buried in the bird's nest, or not, depending on how much you like embellishments. But this project, the theme of it is going to be Proddy and embellishments. So I haven't really gone in that direction before with kits. Let me take it off the frame. Well, actually, let me see if I can keep it on the frame for a minute because I want to work on the frame. This is what the pattern is looking like so far. You can see this. Flop it up. I got it on a small frame because I keep traveling with it. So as you can see, the eggs in the bird's nest are coming in. I haven't finished most of the bird. I want to show you how I'm working it if you're a beginner. The corners are going to be, it's an oval frame. The corners are going to be this lime green color. I'll tell you a little bit more about the colors in a minute. I haven't done the feet, haven't done the eyeball, the beak, any of that. I'm actually waiting for my orange to dry. I had another orange and I just didn't love the shade of orange. I wanted a much softer orange for this. So one of the things I want to show you, this is really a video for beginners who are approaching this project. If you're going to be getting this kit, this is a great beginner's kit. It's all wool strips. It includes some very simple Proddy. Proddy, if you don't know what that is it's kind of a variation of rug making. It's a rag rug technique where you pull through a whole piece. I've done videos just on Proddy, not a shaped piece, but just a straight piece, like a oversized rectangle. You put it through and it comes through all floppy. I'll show you that in a minute. This features Proddy and a lot of embellishments that look like antique old buttons and found items that the bird might have found on the ground and brought up to the nest to include in the nest. So one of the things I'm doing with this is a bit of very graphic shading. This is not realistic shading by any means. I'm going from kind of a bright pink, almost sunset or sunrise colors, up to medium pink to a pink coral. And then on top, I'm coming more to a straight coral or flesh tones. Same thing with the bird. I've kind of articulated his wings a little bit in just suggestions of color. I can do a diagram for this, and maybe I will, if you want to do something similar. When you think about your color, you don't have to be a shading master, particularly with a number 8 cut primitive strip, which this is, meaning a wide cut. But just think about, the idea that either the sun or the moon is above and casting light, and that the top is always going to be a little bit, if you're interested in shading, a little bit lighter for things on the top, and then kind of medium, and then the dark are sort of in the crevices and the shadowed places. Just as a general rule, it's just common sense, but it's worth saying. So if you're trying to do something with shadow, the blues that I did for this piece, I actually did 4 blues, like a light, a turquoise medium that's all mottled, a medium, bright medium, and then the quite dark. These are actually 4 completely different colors. I wasn't doing the sort of marrying of colors, which means using the same color to get different tones or intensities of the same color. I went for 4 different colors because I want it to be colorful. I don't want to do something that's sort of monochromatic and matchy match. I wanted to do something that didn't match, where the colors didn't transition easily from one to the next. Something with more of a vintage paint by number feel. So these are your blues. You do it however you want to do it. If you always get extra pieces, you always get a lot of extra wool in my kits. If you like the darkers, just go for the darkers. Or if you like just the lights and mediums, just go for those. But make sure that as you hook it, put it down every few minutes to look at it, step back, decide if you like the way the colors are looking. Don't pull stuff out right away. Just give it a minute, sit with it, put some stuff around it. Sort of take stock without doing something impulsive and wasting time. Just take stock, but certainly hook it the way that you like it. Make sure that the colors are evolving in the way that you like it, not the way that I like it or I did it. So those are what the blues look like. For the very, very bright bottom, which is my favorite part, I did, and I'm dyeing lots more, but I ended with this piece here, which is bright, 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 bright pink purple. That's another strip from that, and then a lighter pink that has some variation in it. Now, what I did, if you are a dyer and you're interested in dyeing something similar, if you're not interested in this kit, but you're interested in something similar, when you dye things like this, I'm basically dropping my wool into the dye, right, with Synthropol, and you've pre-soaked it for a good half hour. You put your dye into the pot. You're not boiling, but it's very hot. When you put your piece in and you do not stir it, you get a very mottled look. That's what I started with here. And then if you take bits of powder, if you have your gloves on and you take a few tiny sprinkles, tiny granules, and sprinkle different colors on top, and you see they just fall down and set into the wool, the color is searching for the wool to attach to, and being chemical dyes, the colors break and you get variations of colors, lots of different colors, lots of interest. And of course, when you hook it, it gives you a lot of interest. It gives you a lot of variety. And it's not uniform, it's not solid. If you put your wool in and you stir the whole time, then you end up with a solid color. If you do not stir, it sits and the color settles into different crevices and it is mottled, it is not solid. But what I did with some of the other ones, like these are some of the pinks. I did a bunch of different pinks. These are all sort of medium strawberry type pinks, a kind of tea rose, wood rose, that kind of thing. What I did with all of the pinks, no matter which one, I dropped the material in, I let it sink into the one color, I did not stir it, and then I dropped granules of the same color in, and it kind of finds and attaches to what it finds. So you get little bit things like this, with little flecks of color, little bursts of color, that again create interest and variety, so you don't end up with the solid pieces, which you sometimes want, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want something that's a bit more sort of watercolory and colorful. So those are the pinks. It's a big pink palette. And then this is the robin's egg blue that I did that has this kind of brownish green color popping. I think it is actually working. This is the very fabric I used for my little robin's eggs. I think it's working really well for that. So I'm sticking with that formula. And then I've got a lot of the coral and flesh colors. All of this stuff comes in your kit if you get the kit. All of these colors come in your kit. Stuff like this, I have a few corals, I have a few flesh, I have a few that, you know, again, the same color stuff kind of dripped down and got sprinkled on like we're doing pastry stuff, not dyeing, and settles in different ways and gives you lots of interest. And then for the corner, I have this really bright lime green. So you could use anything for the corner, but for this composition being so colorful, I felt it needed a really strong color for the corner. And because it's so colorful and because there is such a bright lime green in the corner, I felt then that I needed something that wasn't a black or a navy or something predictable as a border, just a straight border around. And I think I'm gonna end up going for like a maroon color. And the reason is it kind of speaks, the maroon kind of speaks to the corals and the pinks, and it's the opposite of the lime. And a maroon is a very sort of flat color, right? It's not a lively color, it's not an exciting color. This is very solid, I haven't modeled it. It's just a straight kind of maroon on the raspberry side. And I think it will kind of give the other colors a kick because it is quite a flat color, but yet it's not a boring color. I think it would be predictable if I did the border in black or navy. I think it would be predictable. So I want to avoid being predictable, but I also want to be sure that I anchor the frame, that I make it a good strong frame by using a border in a color that really stands out and is strong on its own. While it's not fighting with the piece, I want it to complement the piece, all the different colors in it. I think it's going to work really well. I'll let you know if it doesn't. This is only the beginning of this video. So one of the things, I just want to show you some of the things I'm doing so far. If you are a beginner hooker and you're approaching this project, I want to show you some of the things that can be tricky in it. So doing the little robin's eggs can be a little bit tricky. The main thing that you need to know about this pattern is that unlike all the patterns I've done before, and I know I said this on Coffee Time, this pattern comes on linen. You're seeing it on monk's cloth, but yours will come on linen because it's very wide cuts and they're just easier coming through linen. A little more stress on your hand and your arm when you're pulling thick strips like this, number 8s, through monk's cloth. So you will be defaulting to linen unless you request monk's cloth. All the same to me, I charge you the same. But I'm also not cutting these. I'm giving you sheets of material. And with this pattern, I'm trying to really get back to the basics of rug hooking. I love using my fancy equipment. It's all expensive. Does it need to be? Who knows? But it is, and there's no getting around it. These are not super expensive. These are regular scissors. And I have really enjoyed every single strip of this piece has been cut with my scissors like this. And is it even? It's never even, never. Does it matter? It doesn't matter at all. And the thing about scissors is I cut as I go, right? Inexpensive, cut as I go. And sometimes I see, oh, a little crevice. I'm gonna cut a really skinny piece to fill that crevice. I can really control what I'm doing. It takes a little bit of extra time, but are you in a crazy hurry? Because it's nice sometimes to do things the old-fashioned way. It will give your piece a kind of charming look that you don't get when everything is perfectly perfect, matchy-match, uniform strips. Cutters do a great job and they save time, but it is nice sometimes to sit with a pair of scissors. So that's what I'm doing here. I cut all my pieces. One of the tricky parts will be the bird's nest. I'm working kind of upside down with you so that you can see this. I'm actually going to stand. You know, I went around in a circle to get my robin's eggs done in an oval. And that is always tricky because a big wide strip like an 8 is going to come up like a little rectangle head. You know, it's not going to come up like a little triangle. I did a video on this, Pez versus, you know, the rectangular Pez candies versus candy corn, which are triangular. You just don't get the triangular with a wide strip. And you have to finagle as you go, like I am. You have to finagle as you go. That wasn't very good, was it? I'm going to pull that back through. I'm working at a pretty awkward angle. But you fill spots as you go, and you know what? If you pack just these little eggs, who cares? But also, alternately, if you leave a little holiday, a little gap, you can always go back and stick something in there later. Don't overthink it. Don't overworry it. You know, it doesn't have to be a perfect size oval or egg shape. And you know what? It probably shouldn't be because this is a handmade item and this is a piece of folk art. So you probably shouldn't be. And I'm going to trim it right down with my little scissors to a good height. Now that finished off my 3 little eggs. In the background, I haven't told you yet, but I've got tons and tons of different prints, browns, sort of tans, golds, straw colors, different ones. The brown that I'm using, I used just for the background, this brown, right, for the background of the bird's nest. In other words, I wanted the eggs to really stand out. So right here in the center part, I used this, and I'm giving you this exact one too. I have tons and tons and tons of this material. But then I have these lighter materials, and they're all different, and they're going to create a lot of interest. So what I'm doing now is, I haven't started the Proddy part of the bird's nest yet, but what I'm doing is I'm taking my strips, and I am setting up for Proddy. I've got a couple of my strips out here, and what I'm doing is I'm back here. I'm going to put the dark in here. I'm back here. I'm skipping quite a few spots here and there, and I'm skipping on purpose because I want to pull the Proddy through. So I'm giving myself lots of intentional holidays. I'm going to tighten up a little bit here. I took this off to travel. I'm giving myself a lot of intentional holidays because I want to run some Proddy through. And I'm doing all kinds of willy-nilly, crazy directional. I'm stopping and starting. I'm doing some here, doing some there because you're going to see what I want the effect to be is that there's some wild movement, color changes, just like a bird's nest. You know, it's not a beautiful little sort of crown. It doesn't look like a little tiara. One of the things I'm doing with my bird's nest here, just the basic part of it, is I'm leaving my ends up so they look a bit more wild. Now, when it comes time for me to do the Proddy part of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with my scissors. I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to cut some wider pieces, something like this, and I'm going to or even wider, or whatever you want. And I am going to come to one of my little gaps. For example, here's a gap. I'm going to come through, pull one end of the strip, and then I'm going to come right next to it and pull the other end. Now this is a big strip, so you know what I could do is I could pull down. This is a come as you are party. You go along and you figure it out as you go along. I put a loop in the middle, and then I'm pulling the other strip right up, Proddy style, and I'm going to leave it up like that. And I'm going to make a bunch of these things with strips sticking up like that. Let me do the same thing with this little guy. I'll decide at the end whether the strips are too high. I'll decide, you know, if I like the way it's looking, if I like the way the colors are evolving. I'm going to decide all that at the end. But when I put these Proddy pieces in, I'm basically pulling through bigger strips and leaving them a bit wild. And I'm going to do that for this whole bird's nest. And it's basically, I put a loop in the middle, which is optional. I just thought it would anchor it better. And then I leave the ends crazy. And I will decide later whether I want the ends to be crazy or not. So what I'm doing otherwise in the background, I'm going to finish the nest. I did my branches. I'm going to do more branches here. Branches are going to be easy peasy. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm using my colors, my wool colors. I'm cutting them into strips. And I'm just hooking along the branches. And sometimes I change color partway through. If you can see some of my past branches, it goes the dark color to the golden color and back again. I kind of change as I go. And I like the way that looks. And you're going to get a lot of different of these tweed colors in your kit. So you can decide whether you want to do a whole branch the same color, or whether you want to, I'm right up on the frame, or whether you want to change colors like I did. There's no wrong way or right way to do it. You do it according to your taste, and make sure that your eye is telling you, I like this. And if you don't like it, you know, make a change or modify, deviate from what I've done and do your own thing, because it could be that, you know, your thing is much better than my thing, and you won't know until you try. So it's up to you how you're going to go with traveling, the colors, these branches, things like that. And then the sky. I just went from color to color to color in the sky. But I'm really loving the way it's all coming out. I really am. I really am. This is just my favorite piece I've done so far. So I'm going to continue working it. I've got all my colors out. I'm going to just keep cutting as I go. I know you're getting a reflection. I'm going to just keep cutting as I go this way. With these kits, you could also certainly request me cutting them. I can cut them to a 5 or an 8. But if you don't want them cut, just try, you know, experiment with just cutting as you go with the scissors too. It's a good exercise for a rug hooker. Of course, I can do stuff punch needle too, much smaller, but if you order punch needle, make sure you let me know if you have the fine or the regular Oxford needle, so that I know how wide I should cut the strips for you. But this is a fun project, and as I get a little bit further, I'll come back with you and do another video. Once I finish the background of the bird's nest, I'm going to do a video showing you what I'm doing with attaching all of the little charms. So that'll be fun. And then I'm even thinking about doing some crazy stuff like I'm going to add maybe some of this material, and you'll get some of this too, just coming out of the bird's nest, kind of crazy. And then I've got my candy wrappers, which I used for my pincushion dolls. Now I've got more, I ordered extra, so I'm going to put a bunch of candies into every kit. They're mint candies, and of course you can eat them, but then if you cut the wrappers up just into little strips, and you can add those to the bird's nest too, it looks like more stuff that the bird found and added to the nest. So all these different things, and of course anything you can think of. You're also getting like some antique buttons and stuff. Lots of different things. Everybody's kit will be basically the same amount of buttons in one of each of the charms that I mention and show. So as soon as I'm done with this part, I will come back to you and we'll see how it looks with the background in place and with the bird's nest ready to be charmed up, ready to be bedazzled. I'll see you soon. Okay, well, I have been working on my bird project, Shiny Things, and it is my favorite project that I've done so far. Of course, a lot of it always has to do with the colors and the way things turned out in terms of being pleasing to me. This is my favorite, but these are really my colors. So if they're your colors too, you're gonna love this kit. I wanna show you what I've got going so far. I've been in a bit of a flux thing because of mail being really slow. So I wanna show you, I've got the blues here. These are the blues I ended up with. Let me see if I can get a bit more straight. I ended up with these blues, the robin's egg on top, I really love, because you can see the way that the chemicals kind of broke on that one. I just love the unexpected quality to it. And then the completely different value here in this kind of sky periwinkle type blue, and then 3 really bright blues. And then I've got a ton of pinks. My favorite ones being these the really bright fuchsia, and then this really bright one. I've got all new pieces dyed for you all, but these are the ones I was left with. And then a lot of kind of strawberry type colors. Strawberries and just general berry colors going toward coral, some lighter pinks too. And then from the corals, we're looking at pink to coral, and then these are the cranberry, the really uniform cranberry pre-cut number 8 strips. I ended up going with this real limey green, kind of like an acid green, for the corners to really pop it. And in a weird way, it goes with the robin's egg blue color. And you know, the beak initially was a much lighter, softer orange, and the legs, and it was too soft. So I ended up going with this much brighter orange. I over dyed it. So this will be the color for the beak, and the legs stands out a bit more. And then I have tons and tons and tons of this stuff, the tweeds, the checks, all this stuff, and a little bit of this. I'll show you this in a minute. But all of these big, heavy, they're wools, you know, they're the right weight and everything for doing what we do, our hooking and stuff, but all different ones and lots of them. These are the colors I was using last on the nest, but you're going to get a square of all of these colors, and some of them look similar, but they're really not. There's a lot of differences when you're looking at a check close up and you're bringing the colors into your composition, and a darker one under here. So that's the checks. There's going to be a lot of those as well. Okay, so I'm just going to show you this here, and again, super bright light in the afternoon. Now, the reason you can see probably really clearly that I did that very uniform small line of cranberry border is because it's a pretty wild composition in general. Very sort of impressionist, lots of movement, branches, sky. The bird is in flight. Everything is in motion. And I quieted it down by putting on this green, really sort of shocking kind of photograph tab corner kind of thing. And then this thin line of the cranberry going around, which didn't really match any existing colors, but it certainly pulled in the red family with the pinks and contrasted greatly to the dullness of the cranberry, contrasted to the brightness of that sort of acidy green. So I thought that worked really well. Now, I'm eating the candies. This is a foreshadowing of the wrappers here. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to keep you here while I do it all. I'm going to sew the bling on. Now, it'll be up to you if you want to do this part or not, but it's a fun part, and I've waited a while for all these things to come. All of you will get exactly this stuff, plus an extra, at least 2. I'll probably do, I'll do an extra 2 antique buttons, like Victorian buttons. I'm going to grab those off my shelf in a little while, but those will be in your kit too. Plus, everybody's going to get this little bunny here. Don't mind my hands, I've been dying like crazy. A little bunny. He's like a little illustration type bunny. A Roman coin, so I'll put that. I'm going to put them into my nest here and there, wherever the bird might have put them. A little Roman coin. It's not really a Roman coin. It's got like an Egyptian head on it, but it looks like a Roman coin. You can put some of these in or none of them in. Little gummy bears. Put one of those in. Little enamel, I like these little enamel monarchs. Put him in somewhere. And you know, I'm going to be pretty strategic where I put them in. And little skeleton key, he'll go in 2. And then I'm going to cut up my candy wrappers. You know, I have you're going to get a bunch of these candy wrappers. This is the one that's in my face right now. But what I'm going to do is, I don't know if any of my scissors are right here. Probably not. But I just take the wrapper this way. And I know I've showed you this before, but I'll just remind you, and I'm cutting it the long way. Not too big. Let me see, here's some scissors. I do something like this. Now you work out what's best for you too, but I do something like this. And I hook these, don't worry, those weren't fabric scissors, those are dull. I hook them about like that. And they only make 1 or 2 loops, but I leave the ends up. So I'm going to work a few of those into here too, like he picked up, you know, scraps of wrappers and things, just like birds love to do, and he incorporated that into his little nest. So that'll be real pretty. I'm going to put those wrappers in too. I'm going to sew it all together, and I'm going to head over to the art store in a little while to get little black buttons to go into the eye. I think we're all going to get a little black button in the eye. It just seems like he needs something shiny in his eye besides the shiny things in the nest. So this kit comes with a lot of embellishments. One of each of all the things I showed you, plus a couple of really old buttons. Lots of material. I always give you more material than you can use, just so you can have fun, build up your stash, save it for another time. And I'm going to include some of this really pretty iridescent, almost holographic tissue type material. I'm going to put in a big slice of it for you, because what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to add it to, of course it depends on how crazy you want to go too, but I'm going to put it coming out of the bird's beak like this. So you'll see that in the finished pictures. I'm going to hook it, and I'm going to have the two sides coming out like this. So it'll be up to you to decide how sort of fancy you want the bird's nest to become. But this is a kit that comes with the wool uncut, except for the cranberry strips, because I'm hoping that you'll either rip or cut with your scissors and do it very sort of varied. And it comes with all of the charms I just mentioned in a couple of the old buttons. This stuff, lots of stuff. It comes with lots of stuff in all the exact colors that you're seeing. It won't be like the colors, it will be these colors. So if you like these colors and you like the idea of doing shiny things, this month's kit, this is going to be for March. And oh, I almost just lifted it up with all of my charms sitting right on top of it there. That's a classic, huh? Never find them once they hit the floor. I think that's it. So you can interpret this however you want. Of course, it comes as a regular pattern too, not just a kit. And it comes on linen. I did mine on monk's cloth, and it's a bit tight with cutting stuff with scissors. It tends to be cut quite thick. So it's a bit tight. That's the back. But I'm going to do yours on linen. So be looking out for that, and let me know if you choose not to have the linen, if you'd rather have something else. I recommend the linen for this because of the wide cut that you'll end up with. Just let me know if you do indeed want me to cut your strips and if you want a different backing. Otherwise, this is what it's going to look like. I really love this kit, and I hope you love it too. Something different and something cheerful. And then, of course, the tiny little dark eye. I'll get that on, and I'll get these up on the website, and I'll make a post so you all know that they're available. Happy March. We are on our way to spring, and I will see you soon at Ribbon Candy Hooking. Take care.